Alright, so which Hearts of Iron 4 DLC should you buy? If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe as it really does help the channel out, but without further ado, let's get straight into it. If you're new to the game, chances are you've noticed there is a lot of DLC you can purchase for Hearts of Iron 4, and chances are you're probably wondering if this DLC is actually worth it and which ones you should essentially get, because to be honest, the total price of all of the DLCs, this is like the country packs and the actual proper game DLCs, comes to currently £139.82, which is a lot of money because you've got to buy the game on top of that as well. So it's a big expense and not everyone can always afford to get all of the DLCs. So we're going to give a quick guide as to which ones you should be buying, or at least give you a guide on how you should go about deciding which DLCs to buy. Alright, so there are 3 things that you should focus on when trying to pick which DLC you want to buy. The first thing is obviously price. Not all DLCs are priced equally, some are more expensive than others, and for good reason to a certain extent, but definitely price is always a factor. The second thing is the focus trees. Now focus trees are one of the main aspects of Hearts of Iron 4. They are essentially the different paths or kinds you can take throughout the duration of a particular game. So when picking which DLC to buy, you want to match up your favourite countries with which DLC packs either add flavour, enhancements, or completely rework the focus tree. So I'll give you an example. One of my favourite countries to play is Italy. So in my personal opinion, I would put By Blood Alone as one of my essential DLCs to buy because it completely reworks Italy, gives it a really good focus tree, and since I play that nation a lot, it makes sense for me to buy that DLC. But then on the flip side, I pretty much never have ever played a country like Chile. So in that case, why would I then buy the Trial of Allegiance DLC pack? Because I'm never going to play that country. I'm not interested in playing Chile. So that's one of the DLC packs I could potentially save on. So focus trees are one of those aspects you need to look at and deciding which country you actually want to play and then matching the DLC that adds flavour or reworks the particular focus tree for that nation. Now the third and final thing is additional features that the DLC adds onto the game. So to give you an example, Man the Guns adds in the ship designer. Now before you get this DLC, all ships are basically just produced the same, and in order to improve a certain ship, you just have to click add armor or add firepower onto that ship to make it better. However, with Man the Gun's ship designer, it completely reworks how ships are built. You get to choose particular modules to put on your ship, and therefore you can create certain types of ships. For instance, you could create a battleship that only has heavy guns and spec it out so it's got maximum heavy attack. Or, if you're a bit mental, you could build a battleship that just has all anti-air guns on it. I don't know why you'd do that, but you could choose to do that. So definitely look at what features each DLC comes with, because again, if you really enjoy making tank divisions and designing tanks, then No Step Back is an easy one to pick because it comes with a tank designer. And if you love building tanks and playing around with tank divisions, then 100% that one is going to be the DLC to go for. So to a certain extent, it's quite difficult to give an actual ranking of these DLCs. Sure, some are subjectively better than others, but each individual player will have certain preferences for DLCs depending on which nations and which types of features they want to actually have added on to their game. However, I will quickly go over which DLCs I think are subjectively the best and what I think all players should actually buy. So the first one I think you should get is Gotterdammerung, which is currently on Steam for £21.99, but it is by far and away the best DLC that Hearts of Iron 4 has released thus far. It has a complete rework of both Germany and Hungary, and adds focus trees for Austria, Belgium, and the Belgium Congo. So again, depending on which nations you like to play, that DLC might not entirely be for you, but a German Reich focus tree is definitely one to get and play with. And you also get the special projects introduced, which is where you get to build crazy and wacky prototypes of all sorts of, war machines that may or may not have seen the light of day in World War II. The next one I would get would probably also be No Step Back. It comes with the tank designer, as I discussed earlier, and it completely reworks focus trees for both the Soviet Union and for Poland, 2 very big popular countries to play, while giving some smaller focus trees to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. But to be honest, the main reason you're buying this thing is for the tank designer, for the focus tree, It adds some other little tweaks and stuff as well, like railguns and the Scorched Earth ability for certain types of terrain, but again, definitely one to buy, and at only $16.75, it's a bit cheaper than Gotterdammerung as well. Alright, so my third DLC to buy would probably also be By Blood Alone. Yes, I have some bias for this DLC, but Italy is definitely a fun nation to play. It also comes with focus trees for Ethiopia and Switzerland, which can be two interesting nations to play, but the big thing is really the plane designer. Now, being able to design planes is definitely a very powerful strategy in Hearts of Iron 4, and getting to build and design specific planes to your taste is always a lot of fun. Not to mention it comes with some small tweaks like peace conference, extra demands, and the trade embargoes feature as well. And for $16.75, it's also the same price as No Step Back. Now, this final DLC might not be argued to be as essential as the other ones. However, I am going to throw it in there because I think it does make Hearts of Iron 4 a more complete experience with it, and that's going to be Man the Guns. Now, Man the Guns comes with reworks for both the UK and the US, and adds focus trees for both Mexico and the Netherlands, so some pretty big nations there getting some extra tweaks. And you also get the ship designer. Pair this with No Step Back and By Blood Alone, it means you have the plane, tank and ship designer, which means that you kind of have the complete experience when being able to build, design and customize all the different war machines you would have in World War II. Not to mention it adds some small tweaks to naval treaties, government in exile, expeditionary forces, pride of the fleet and other naval changes. Definitely if you're a naval player, this is one DLC you won't want to miss out on. And for £16.75, it's also the same price as By Blood Alone and No Step Back. So other than those 4 DLCs being Gotterdammerung, By Blood Alone, No Step Back and Man the Guns, I wouldn't necessarily say that any of the other DLCs are entirely necessary for a full and complete Hearts of Iron 4 experience. Yes, the other DLCs do add value in some type of way, but I just don't think they're as worth it as the other DLCs. And the total cost of these 4 DLCs comes to £72.24. which is definitely expensive. Bearing in mind, again, you have to purchase Hearts of Iron 4 on top of this. So I can definitely understand why a lot of players are frustrated at the cost of getting into this game with all of its content. But in my opinion, those are the DLCs that are essential. However, before you go ahead and buy all those DLCs and load up your new Hearts of Iron 4 game, there is one other thing we need to talk about. Paradox for some time has now had a subscription service, which for a monthly price of £6.69, you can get temporary access to all of the DLCs, and not just the DLCs we've covered in this video, but future DLCs as well. So if you're unsure about which DLCs you actually want to buy, here's what I would do. I would purchase the subscription for 1 month, and for that month, just try playing Hearts of Iron 4 with different DLCs loaded, because you can toggle DLCs on or off when you load up a game. So if you want to try Hearts of Iron 4 with certain combinations of DLCs, load it up, play a few games with it, and see which features and countries you actually end up playing and using, and then that will give you an indication, once your month is up, which DLCs you should then go ahead and buy. And another little tidbit about the subscription, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video that the total price of all the DLCs was £139.82. Now let's say that you only bought the subscription and none of the DLCs. If you bought the subscription for 21 months, it would come to a total price of £140.49. So you've got to ask yourself, realistically, are you going to be playing Hearts of Iron 4 for more than 2 years? Because if you are, and you're getting a lot of hours out of it, then maybe buying all the DLCs is a good idea rather than getting the subscription. But if you're somebody who maybe moves on to games quite quickly, who only spends a few hundred hours playing a game before they get bored, then I would even consider just buying the subscription for a few months as you play the game and get into it, and then as you feel yourself moving on to something else or want to play a new game, just cancel your subscription, and that will probably be a lot cheaper in the long run. But yeah, that's kind of it guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel out. And I've said in previous videos, I am trying to grow this channel to over 1,000 subscribers, so I'd love to be able to hit that target by the end of the year. Of course, if you still have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I will try and answer them as best I can. I do unfortunately have more than a few thousand hours in this game, so please shoot your questions my way about which DLCs you should get, and I'll try to give you my advice on which ones you should buy, depending on your preferences and your financial situation as well. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.